I recently did a video about Philip Schofield and the media and the way it vilifies people. It's disgusting and abhorrent. But something else I sort of recognised after the video. I recognised how people with platforms, especially those in the public eye who have celebrity status, they tend to be cowards. I don't say that lightly. They are. We all have our own opinion, of course, and we all have our own, ideas on how we should behave and morals. But public perception is huge to a lot of people. They're cowards because they have a lot to lose. Well, I don't think it matters if you've got a lot to lose or a little. If you've got something to lose, you're risking something. But I'm not someone who will ever be quiet. I'm not someone who will ever care about what I have and how much I could lose by speaking up. I will speak up, which means anyone associating themselves with me has to be aware of that. And that's up to them to decide, am I a risk? Am I too risky? That's for them to decide. If I am, then stay away. I don't care. I create what I create because it means a lot to me. I don't call people out on an individual basis. It's more societal issues that bother me. So where I say celebrities can be cowards, I'm not singling out a celebrity. But you see it all the time. For instance, maybe there was an issue that people are aware of, but no one had the confidence or courage to speak up and say what happened, so you only find out decades later. And you think, what is that? If there's something seriously bad, then something should have been done. Likewise, when things surface, people tend to distance themselves from people, even if that person hasn't really done too much wrong. But because it can damage a reputation, people all of a sudden hide away. You don't hear them. There's no support. And that's cowardice. That is cowardice. And it bothers me, that does. The fact that people are only ever where they place themselves because they have something to gain. When they have something to lose, most go quiet and hide. Because like I said, they don't want their reputation tainted. They don't want opportunity to go. But I think the more we speak up and have our own identities, the more it becomes more normalized. Because it should be normalized. We shouldn't be so scared to speak up and say what's on our mind. Why is that such a bad thing? Why is that so scary? And I have a hard time with that. That bothers me a lot. So would I forego fame and riches to have integrity and be authentic? Yeah, I would forego all of it. I don't care. That's not that wouldn't make me happy. I would feel like I have to sell my identity and my soul to have opportunities. That ain't gonna happen. No, not in this lifetime, not in any lifetime. Opportunities that come will have to be based on who I am, the fact that I am authentic, the fact that I do have integrity, the fact that I do speak my mind. That's where my opportunities lie. And if it isn't forthcoming, then it isn't forthcoming. I think too many people are sellouts. And that's just the truth, isn't it? You see it so many times. Someone's best friend, and all of a sudden it's not wise to be associated. So now they don't like them anymore, or they just go quiet and ignorant. It's like that is a really sad state of affairs, isn't it? When the people you trust the most are no longer aligned with you, because they're scared of the fallout. Now, of course, if you're not what you perceive to be, and there's a darker side to your personality that people didn't aware of, you can understand that. So it's not a case of you have to stay by someone all the time if they're not a kind person or a nice person. But I think sometimes news is sensationalized. I think people become the target of accusations that aren't true, or it's all blown out of proportion to the point it's exaggerated. But it's this idea, though, that people, they stay away. They stay away because they see it as tainted. It bothers me immensely. You see it with actors. I've mentioned this before, where you see this with actors and stuff. They say something or they behaved in a certain way, and now all of a sudden they can't be hired again because it's too risky for a studio to invest in a project that viewers may not may boycott. But I think do your research. You find most people just don't care about infringements. You know, the little infringements. It's life. We make mistakes. We go through ups and downs. Forgiveness is important. Evolving and learning to grow and change. That's important. You know, you can't always be villainized. I think you're not always the same person at the start as we are at the end. You know, we go through the ups and downs. If we pick out parts of our life, let's say you're 60 years old, you did some bit, you was a bit boisterous in your 20s. Is it really fair that someone in their 60s is still treated the same way they were in their 20s when they're a completely different person? They've changed, they've evolved, they've had life experience. But yeah, I mean, lives get ruined. You see it, like I say, you see it all the time where someone's maybe not in movies for years and years. You think, where's that person gone? You have a little idea, what happened to them? All of a sudden they were typecast out, you know. But there's other things I noticed too. Even people who are, they need people for their audience, but they're selective of who they have. So if you're someone that's a bit outspoken, they see it as risky, like I said earlier. So they don't reach out and you don't get that opportunity because it's easier to pick somebody else. And I think people need to be more courageous. I think, you know, you've got to have more integrity. And like I said, if more people just said their truths, you realise how normalised it is. What I'm thinking and my truths and what I believe in, I think more people will find familiarity in that. They'll think similar. But because we don't hear it enough, we keep that side to ourselves. You know, and I think so many parts of our identity get lost and hidden away because we don't want to seem different. We don't want to be ridiculed. And I think that's quite sad. You know, we should just be able to be ourselves 100%. Good, bad, indifferent, strange, weird. You know, parts of who we are, it builds up and makes us who we are. So I don't think speaking up is a negative. If anything, I think it's positive to have those voices. The ones that say it like it is. Because then more people will feel comfortable doing the same. But I think when opportunities get taken away because people are so scared to be associated, I think that's just sad and pathetic, isn't it? So they have the same contributors, really. You know, you look for familiar people who are going to say the same thing over and over again. So let's say someone creates a podcast, for instance, and they have guests on them. They tend to play it safe and have the same familiar guests. So every podcast sounds the same. Isn't that rather dull and boring? The idea of having someone maybe that's a bit unconventional. Maybe they're going to say something that's a bit offbeat and controversial is a bit scary to the audience. But I guess it depends what the topics are, of course. But it's just I see it all the time where everyone portrays themselves as perfect. As soon as someone makes a mistake, they hide. But they've probably got a lot of things to hide in their closet. Is why they're probably not speaking up. Don't want the limelight on them all of a sudden. So maybe if you align yourself with someone that's maybe made a mistake, you make yourself the next target. But again, I mean, people place too much importance on money and status. These things are irrelevant. You know, nice to have, not necessary. Not necessary. You can live quite a happy life depending on your expectations, I guess. If you're stuck in the material side of this world, then of course you have no soul anyway, and you'll be void of any sort of dignity. And if you have no dignity, you're not going to support anyone anyway. So it's all out, fend for ourselves, and that's where the cowardice comes in. But I think if you have integrity, you stand by people, and you sort of, you know, you protect them in the moment of need. And I think that's far more crucial than bags of money and opportunities. But of course, everybody's different. Some people see the opportunity as the be-all and end-all, the life they dreamed of. Don't really care who they crushed along the way. Feel validated in everything they did to gain that opportunity, and as though they deserve it too. And some of these people are narcissists, so they'll never even see what they did wrong anyway. Because of course we're not responsible for other people anyway. You can go the other side of that. You know, if someone makes a mistake, it's not my responsibility to fix it. It's not my responsibility to necessarily get involved. So you have to pick your battles too, because you know obviously we'd be fighting every battle left, right, and centre like a firefighter. I just think it's really sad when people turn on people, or they go super silent through fear of just being aligned with someone else. Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time anyways. It's not necessarily in the celebrity side of it. I see it on a lower level. On like, I'm not on social media, but I see it on like the business platforms, you know, like LinkedIn and things. I see you get it's interesting. You see the same familiar people pat each other on the back, but it's clear why they do it. You know, it's to gain, it's to keep their reputation intact. They keep a reputation, they keep a level of visibility, but again, very quiet when it comes to relevant topics really that have actual substance. So people are so scared that they'll ruin everything they create. I find it quite remarkable. Obviously, everything has meaning, everything has purpose. There's a reason why you do this, reason why you do that. But I think really maybe you got to consider life in general though, and say what's really important. You know, too many people sell their soul. I think how sad a life that is. But yeah, maybe opportunities do dry out when we are courageous. Maybe by being courageous, we talk ourselves out of something. Yeah, maybe by being courageous, we lose opportunities. But the way I always see it is, for everyone, maybe you've got 5 people who don't like what you have to say. They take exception, and they really, really feel aggrieved. And you think, I could never be associated with this person. Maybe 5 people think that. And then one person sees you and they think, what a breath of fresh air. They say it like it is. They pull no punches. And it's authentic. And that's the person that will invest in you, give you opportunity, believe in you. But more than that, it's aligning yourself with people who have the same morals. And I think that's worth its weight in gold. You don't want to surround yourself with people who are cowards. People who are really never going to be there when you need them. It's far more rewarding to be reliable and authentic, with integrity, and have similar people around you. That's far more worthwhile. So I think trouble is people invest too long into people who really are only there for their purpose and greed. And you see it, the silence speaks 1,000 words. And I sort of recognise that quite often. And I always find it quite pathetic. But again, like I said, people put too much emphasis on fame and money. So they try to post themselves as perfect. In the end, they have a breakdown or something, because like it's hard to keep up a false facade. It's hard to pretend you're perfect all the time. And if you're going to live a life where you're going to seem like that, the mask's going to slip one day. And then it's your turn to be lambasted. And who's going to be there when you need them? And I think that's the thing, isn't it? If you was never there supporting others, and you was never authentic, don't expect others to come and be authentic and believe in you. Because if you're fake, you're fake. And really, if you've aligned yourself with people who don't support, you hardly can. Last thing you can expect is support, you know. But it's just a lot of cowardice in the public eye, I think, in terms of opportunities people get. If you're, like I said, if you're outspoken, you're probably not going to get those opportunities. But also with the criticism people get as well. Yeah, I think if you're seen as disruptive, it's a risk, isn't it? But who is it a risk to? That's the point, isn't it? I think, you know, obviously investors and things means something to someone. But again, I think people have I don't think they appreciate the general public as much as they should. The general public are not stupid, and the general public don't really care about half the things the other people care about. It's only because it's made such it's been made so bigger than it is in the news, that people become aware, and then they take a side, and then they form an opinion. But for the most part, at the initial stage of anything being revealed, people just don't care, because they've probably seen it in their family, or for a friendship or a co-worker. that's done something similar or far worse. You've heard it all before, but because it's someone in the public eye, things are considered way worse, and it's like we should all be held accountable to the same level. Life shouldn't get ruined so quickly and easily, but yeah, it's that lack of speaking up that bothers me. Yeah, people are too protective of, I think, what they're creating to an extent. But of course, we have to be responsible for our own behaviours and actions too, though. If we're going to be entirely reckless to the point of crazy, you can't be everybody's saviour either. So there is a balance to be had with it. It's not a case of, I speak up and I'm going to all, speak up for everybody. It's not the case at all. I'll be selective. If I think someone's just a chaotic idiot, and you can see they're going to bring it on themselves, it's kind of like you're going to have to learn the lesson in it as well. I ain't going to be saying this person's incredible. I don't really think that's fair when I can see they're an idiot and they've just ruined someone's life. It's like, well, you're going to have to take the brunt of that to an extent, aren't you? Because you can't just hide behind other people all the time either. But it's more the public side of things really that bothers me. The celebrity status. Yeah. I mean, it's like the video I did recently. It was about Philip Schofield, and all of a sudden people go quiet, and then everybody's out to get him, and it's like that's the easy thing, isn't it? If you find a target and everyone's rounding them, it's better to, jump on that bandwagon. Maybe get some fame out of that as well while you're sort of jabbing at them. Yeah, I think it's quite sad.